Hello happy souls, welcome back to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111. As you can see, we've got Derek here with us today. I'm sure he's about to destroy my lovely crystal grid on the right any minute. But I'm honouring his presence because I always think it's very lucky when a cat joins us in our readings. He doesn't often insist on being on my desk, but today that's his mood, isn't it, Derek? Derek is my keeper of crystals. Whenever I bring a new crystal into my house, he knows and he wants to inspect it. In fact, once I bought it was like a board with crystals stuck to it and the name of each specimen underneath, and it was in a frame, and I brought it home and I hung it on the wall, and he climbed a set of shelves and stretched himself up quite high to try and reach it and look at it, and I had to bring it down, and he sniffed every single one of them before I hung it back. He always knows when there's a new one. Okay, let's do this. I haven't done this reading for you today before. We are asking today, what's your soul's purpose? What's your soul's mission? What do you need to know about the path laid out before you? Now, I feel I need to preempt this reading with a little bit of understanding about what I believe destiny means. Now, there are so many theories about this, so take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You have to align with your own truth. But my understanding of destiny and fate is that primarily we are meant to wake up. We are meant to rediscover the truth of who we are. You know, we arrive here on earth, our memory is wiped clean, and the goal is to find our way back to our truth, to remember that we're a soul having a human experience, to remember the totality of our being. And that's everybody's destiny. You know, first and foremost, that's what I believe, that we're meant to rediscover who we are. But when we talk about destiny, it implies that our life path is set in stone. And I don't believe that it is. In fact, when I discussed this with my spirit guides, the answers they gave me were really curious and very interesting. And I mentioned this in one of my readings recently, but the analogy they shared with me was to imagine that you're booking a very long kind of round the world trip. Let's imagine you're booking a trip to Europe for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 12 months. And, you know, when you arrange your trip, you arrange your itinerary. You know which flights you're taking. You have your accommodation booked. You've got your activities booked. You know where you're going to be and when. And you've got your plans all laid out. But with the greatest will in the world, with so many other energies at play, nothing is ever going to go to plan. You know, you're going to miss flights. You're going to bump into people you really enjoy their company and end up going in a different direction. Perhaps you'll arrive at some places and you really don't enjoy them, and you'll move on sooner and go somewhere you weren't meant to go. All of these different possibilities are a result of the variable energies in and around us. And so, you know, arriving here with a life path that's, you know, so fixed is pretty difficult and challenging. Spirit can't actually enforce a specific destined path. You know, we vibrate at a certain energy which will attract the right experiences into our life, but we also have free will at every step. And not only do we have free will, but everybody around us also has free will. So destiny isn't set in stone. It's not as restrictive as this is what's meant to happen and when. You know, we may have an unconscious knowing that we're intended to reconnect with inside of us about why we're here and what we're meant to be doing and what we're meant to be learning. But it's not going to be as specific as, you know, at 32 you're going to have a baby, and at 36 you'll have your second one. One will be a boy and one will be a girl, and you're going to marry this guy and you're going to live here. You know, it's never that set in stone. So I wanted to share that with you because when I do these readings, and as I said, I haven't done this one for you guys before. First and foremost, I don't believe that we can really, well, I can't, the way I read, I don't believe that the tarot looks more than 3 to 6 months ahead. And so the goal of this is to give you an outline of perhaps the primary lessons that are playing out in your lifetime that you need to be aware of. And they may not be specific or circumstantial. They're about energies that we're intending to embody and learn about, you know, lessons that we're meant to master. So take your time choosing a pile. This reading's all about you. Why are you here? What are you meant to be doing? What are you meant to be learning? Where are you meant to be going? In pile number 1, we've got the Affirmators tarot. I'll bring them up so you can see them, with this lovely piece of amethyst. In pile number 2, we've got the Moonchild Tarot with ruby in zoisite, I believe that is. It may be fuchsite, but I think it's zoisite. And in pile number 3, actually, I need to say thank you for this one. This was a gift from Julie. Juliet Brewer, and she says, "Hi Charlotte, happy birthday. I loved your pick a card reading on This Message Was Meant for You today. I enjoy your wisdom and compassionate candor. Glad you are on the planet right now." That is such a sweet message, you guys. Honestly, you move me every day. Thank you so much for Juliet, and thank you to all of you for honouring my birthday. I've never received that many birthday messages in my life, and it was really humbling reading through them. But thank you so much for donating a deck. I appreciate it so much. We are using this one in pile 3 today. And we've got Bumblebee Jasper with this one. Okay, so I've rambled enough. Congratulations if you've stayed with me for this part. Take your time choosing a pile. As always, there's no right or wrong way. Just see which one you're drawn to. The timestamps are in the description box below. That will take you straight to your pile, and I will see you there. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading. You've chosen the Affirmators Tarot and the Amethyst Heart. We've still got Derek here with us. So far hasn't destroyed my crystal grid, which is always a blessing. So we are asking today, what is your soul's purpose and soul mission? Now, if you skipped the intro today, I'd like to ask you kindly to just go back and watch that part, because that explains what this reading is about and what our soul purpose or soul mission actually means. But in a nutshell, just to recap, we're looking at why you're here, what you're meant to be learning, you know, what lessons you're intended to master and where you're going. And as I described in the intro, you know, destiny isn't set in stone. Our soul's purpose is much more than specific circumstances. It's about energy and embodying specific energies. But if you want to understand that better, please check out the intro. We're going to use oracle cards today as well, and the charms, and there will be an extended reading if this resonates for you. You can always find the link to that in the description box below. So let's give these a good shuffle. And pile 1, just take a nice long deep breath for me whilst I'm shuffling. Ask Spirit to deliver the messages you need the most today. Open your heart to receiving them. And you can ask for a sign as well. And a sign is anything at all that feels right to you. It's just an opportunity for Spirit to show you they're listening, you know, to give you faith, to help you validate and anchor the messages that come forward. And it could be, you can ask for a sign that's numbers or an object or a symbol or an animal or a phrase, anything at all that feels appropriate to you. So just take a moment to think of that sign. I'm going to draw some cards and we'll start with what's on the table. So what is your soul purpose and soul mission, part 1? What are you meant to be doing with your life right now? What are you meant to be learning? Okay, too many there, but I'm going to keep the ones that fell over. We've got the Fool in reverse, the Ace of Swords, and the Three of Wands. And we've got the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wands in reverse, so 3 aces out for you, Temperance, the Knight of Swords, and the King of Swords. Very interesting. Okay, from the Divine Abundance deck, we've got Extraordinary, Grief, and Humility. And from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle, we've got Recovery, Facade, Dissipating, and Trickery. I know it annoys people that I straighten these out. So many people ask me if I'm OCD, but I'm not. I just like it to look nice for you. I'm actually the least OCD person you'll ever meet, but when it comes to the cards, I like them to be neat. Okay, from the Goddess Oracle, we've got Easter with Growth and Sphinx with Challenge. Derek's taking up a bit of our desk space here, so we'll have to maneuver around him. And from the Sacred Power reading cards, do you know, I'm not sure who these were from. I received them as a gift. If you sent me these, thank you. We've got energy balance. Right. So we're going to get more oracle cards as we go and charms out and stuff. But let's start with where we are. Pile 1. You probably had a very difficult start to life. There were some very harsh lessons that you needed to experience in childhood. And this kind of gives you space to begin processing, reintegrating and recovering from that trauma as an adult. You were surrounded by many narcissistic people. People that manipulated your people-pleasing tendencies. People that conditioned you to put others before yourself. And this has caused you an immense amount of pain because your very fragile and loving heart has always been so confused at the cruelty you've experienced and simply could not comprehend, you know, how people could behave that way and how people could have their own agenda and not operate from a place of integrity. You were born wise, and you probably found that when you were very young, people would say that to you, you know, that you're an old soul on young shoulders. There's just an energy of knowing about you. You are very deeply empathic in a very profoundly emotional way, which allows you to not just navigate your own emotions with a great deal of understanding, but also to read into and understand the emotions of others. And this is what makes you such a compassionate person. You were born with the gift of knowing, and you were born with the gift of loving. And these are two energies that you're very, very adept at. It feels like your heart and mind are very much conflicted. And this is born of your inability to actually step outside of yourself and go within. And this is where your vulnerability lies. And this is fundamentally what you're intended to learn above all other things. It's to bring all of your bodies into balance. And we've got energy balance here. Now, make no mistake, you have chosen for yourself. And I want to reiterate, we do choose why we're here. We know what we're coming for before we arrive. We know what kind of, you know, childhood experience we're going to have within reason. You know, we understand what the challenge ahead is. And, you know, you chose these things for yourself because they're going to help you, oh, thank you, Derek, become who you are meant to be. It's almost like there was an awareness as well of an opportunity to shine light into corners of your soul group that was still very much in the dark and in the shadows. Now, my understanding about soul groups, these are the people we incarnate with over and over again. They can be parents, siblings, friends, aunts, uncles, teachers, romantic partners. You know, our soul group isn't just composed of romantic soulmates. It's composed of many people. It's presumed around 25 to 35 typically that we continue to incarnate with. And my understanding is that when we incarnate together, you know, I mean, there's a chance that not all of your soul group will be incarnate at this time. But when there are a group incarnate at the same time, the most highly ascended in that group elevates everyone else that's connected. And that's to say that your progress, ascension, and learning ultimately benefits the others in your soul group. And so you knew this before you arrived, and you chose the family unit and the difficulties and the challenges that you've experienced so that you could illuminate truth. You are a bringer of truth. As I said, you are gifted with this energy of knowing. And you may have felt very stuck in your circumstances, and Spirit's asking you to accept that you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're not meant to move forward. We've got this Fool in reverse clarified by the Ace of Wands. Now is not the time for you to move on from what you're currently experiencing. You're presently in the thick of it, and your goal is to roll with these difficult triggers and challenges and to find the truth and harmonious balance within them. There's a lot of action indicated here as much as there is truth. You will receive fulfillment, but fulfillment lies in your spiritual adventures. It's not necessarily in your circumstances or connected to the people you will meet or have met. You know, when the Ace of Wands comes up in reverse, it shows us too that, you know, your ascension is currently, it's on pause. It's like it's waiting for you to catch up, you know, and to develop that mind and that emotional space within you so that you can achieve balance in your earthly bodies before opening up your spiritual one. And so even though you're drawn to spiritual matters at this stage in your life, it feels very much like probably right now a lot of things still remain elusive or out of reach to you. You know, you may be interested in tarot, for example, and crystals, but you're not heavily invested or feeling a powerful pull to be present with those energies. It's just an overall interest and a studying that isn't yet being put into practice. And quite simply, it's just not your time. But, you know, we've got this extraordinary energy, and it says there's a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honoured. And I feel that this is a pain point for you because you don't feel that you've been honoured. And, you know, you look back at your life and you think, my gosh, I've been so loving and so kind, and yet I never seem to be rewarded or valued or appreciated or acknowledged. And deep down, you recognise your own pure heart, you know, and you don't want to blow your own trumpet, you know, because you're not an arrogant person. It's not necessarily an egoic belief. It's just a sense of knowing that there is a lot of light in you. But a lot of people find that kind of saintly behavior really triggering, you know, because you are able to hold yourself in such a loving way. And I want to say the majority of the time, because none of us is perfect, but because you're able to hold yourself in a loving way and handle yourself in a loving way in most situations, you know, other people might perceive you as being quite self-righteous because, you know, you've probably spent a long time trying to convince people of how they should behave, you know, of what's right, of what's wrong, kind of sharing your values, and then feeling incredibly frustrated when the people around you aren't able to comprehend or align with what you're bringing forward. And this is one of the most triggering things for you. But kind of what I said in the intro, you know, fundamentally, your time here is about discovering the truth of who you are. In part, you have to master self-love. And this is, you know, we've got two green cards here, and one is trickery and one is the Ace of Cups, and they both feature dragons, which is really interesting. Now, the Ace of Cups is about self-love, and we see here this dragon drinking from his own cup, giving himself the love and sustenance that he needs to be happy and comfortable. Without that, we exist in a self-love deficit. We don't have enough, and we become codependent and attached. But we've also got this energy of trickery. And again, these are the only two green cards here, both connected to the heart chakra. Now, this is about you understanding the difference between real, unconditional, genuine love and conditional love. And so far, I'm hearing that you're still learning to drink from your own cup, but also having grown up in and around so many narcissistic or coercive people, you still struggle to see the truth of who people are. And this makes you very vulnerable because you see the good in everyone. You see everybody's potential. And, you know, when you're such a decent person, this also makes you very vulnerable because you don't expect the ill behaviors of others. You know, if you think about it, if you're a you know, an unpleasant person, if you're sneaky and snaky and manipulative and cruel, because you have behaved that way yourself, you're going to be hyper vigilant of others behaving the same. You know, part of the human condition is that we expect others to feel, think and do as we do. So one of the really important things you have to learn here is that not everyone has a pure heart like you. And you really need to learn to discern and recognize the truth between the two. That's definitely one of your life goals. It's to establish enough love for yourself that you can actually perceive things more clearly, because we are at our most vulnerable of falling for false or conditional love or distorted love when we don't have enough love for ourselves already. When we're really hungry for love, we make rash, impetuous decisions in relationships. And this is one of your greatest struggles right now. So, you know, for sure, the life purpose here is to discover that truth so that you can release that pain. I'm really drawn to how there's 3 swords around the king here, which is representative of grief, which also shows up here. Tears are what happens when the ice in the heart melts. And so, you know, Spirit is very proud of you, because even though you've been through such a lot, you haven't allowed this pain to harden your heart and make you bitter. For sure, you experience feelings and resentment of resentment and bitterness from time to time. You are, after all, a human being. But I'm hearing that for the most part, you maintain a vulnerable and trusting heart. And this is both a strength and a weakness. But it only is a weakness if you're not able to discern and perceive the trickery when it's at play. And so this is something that you need to align your mind with. And we see the same energy here, excuse me, Derek, with the Ace of Swords. And again, 3 swords represented here. Now, the Ace of Swords is about truth and knowing and intellect, and it's represented here by that wise owl. But again, you know, those 3 swords connect us back to grief and heartbreak. And here is Temperance, the energy of bringing it all back into balance through beautiful transformation and harmony in the heart space. Again, energy balance. You know, we've got Easter here as well, the energy of growth, and Sphinx, the energy of challenge. Now, of course, Easter represented here with a unicorn and a rabbit. This is the energy of creation, of new beginnings. And I feel like you start over again and again, and you seem to keep repeating the same painful cycles. You will overcome that. You know, you're not going to always stay stuck in one place. But again, the message is coming through that you're where you're meant to be right now, and that you should try not to resist the divine flow of energy that kind of keeps you in the energy you're presently in. Humility. Allow me, divine, to always accept the right assistance. I welcome your help in every way and delight in receiving it. The owl appears again for you, and there's also a dragonfly here and this little tiny dog. I think that's a Pomeranian. You must learn to recognize that the universe does have your back as well. I do feel that your spiritual and psychic gifts will come online much later in life for you, and that part of your recovery will include, you know, a very focused and diligent, decisive action towards healing and fulfillment. You know, at some point you will feel an unmistakable urge to pursue the spiritual path, and your spirit guides and your spiritual counsel are already waiting for you to make that connection. You get to decide, but for me it feels like that will come to you later in life. But this is a key to your recovery, and this is a purple card again, connecting to the third eye, and we see this gift of a key being brought forward by this spiritual figure and this new door that opens. So again, you know, with the Fool in reverse and the Ace of Wands in reverse, you've got lots of rabbits here showing up as well, lots of unicorns, or that's the winged Pegasus. You know, I really feel that right now you're exactly where you're meant to be, and that you need to release this energy of frustration that you're not, or what you perceive as being not progressing. You are progressing. You're learning really valuable lessons, and you're lighting up the world for people around you, even if it doesn't seem that way. You do need to take action towards fulfillment. So, you know, Spirit is reminding you here that you are a master creator. You know, you bring all of this power to the world with you, and that includes the ability to manifest exactly what you need and want. You know, in this giraffe energy here, and again with Temperance and the seal, we see so much, you know, flowers coming to bloom, all of this abundance, the rainbow, which is a symbol of optimism and joy, and of course the 3 itself being the energy of divine creativity and abundance. So for me, with this Knight of Swords clarifying it as well, this is about putting the helmet on, protecting yourself from the harsh external circumstances and not allowing it to keep you from moving forward towards what you desire. There's always a step forward to be taken, even if it's a small one, is the message here. We've also got facade and dissipating. And again, I'm really drawn to how much yellow is in this reading. I want to remind you that yellow connects to the energy of the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is not only our primary power center, but also from where we're triggered the most. Now, facade is about letting down the mask. When we're triggered, it's very easy to assume that our external circumstances are accountable for our state of being. This is the energy of, oh my God, my friend was so rude to me today. They said such harsh things and now I feel like crap. Or I've got a really horrible situation at work and every day I go in and it just makes me, just want to hide under a rock. I just feel so miserable because of how these other people or this situation is transpiring. And, that's connected to this idea that your state of being is reliant on external circumstances. Another one of your missions and life purpose is actually to recognize that you have ultimate power over your state of being, and that without facing these challenges, you can't learn to arrive at that power. So if these situations seem to be repeating on you and you seem to stay stuck, you don't seem to move forward in the direction that you want, you are being asked to identify here how many triggers in your external reality are still prodding and poking you and saying, hey, pay attention. Triggers are red flags for a lesson. When you feel triggered, when you feel any kind of painful or unpleasant emotion or disturbance of your peace of mind, you need to immediately acknowledge that as your soul saying something's up here. There's an unresolved wound, there's a wound, or there's a shadow aspect that you're not seeing, and the experience is triggering something that's already there. When you take that power back, instead of giving it to the people and circumstances around you, this is when you have the opportunity to grow and actually take action. One of your deepest rooted fears is that you're going to end up old and alone, staring at the TV with no one but yourself and a bird for company. And this is it's an intrusive and limiting and unhelpful belief. Excuse me, Derek. Again, above this, we have the Three of Wands and the Knight of Swords that reminds us fulfillment in the way that you see it and perceive it. Thank you, Derek. Can be yours if you simply turn your attention towards it. If you choose it for yourself, you are not as powerless. Right, you're going to have to go now. You are not as powerless as you believe yourself to be. You're significantly more powerful in terms of, creating the reality that you want for yourself. You just have to continue being positive about that and to recognize your power to manifest what you want. That is a very unhelpful belief you had. You feel you're destined to die alone, to live alone, to never find the true love that was meant for you. And you may find yourself alone at this moment in time. But again, Spirit is reminding you that everything is transient. And again, one of your primary goals here is to learn what real love is. And I'm hearing when you learn what real love is, you open the door to real love. So you have more power and more control here than you would honestly allow yourself to believe. So let's get some more of these sacred power reading cards. We've got protection, purification, animal kingdom, and from the Goddess Oracle we've got the mystery, laughter, and wisdom. So for sure, your life purpose involves bringing protective energies. You may find that you're very nurturing and protective of those you care about. There's a very loyal energy here, and you defend those you care about with force. We can see here that this soldier is all armored up, but there's also a message here about recognizing your own strength. You know, when you master what real love is and you learn to discern real love between false love that's misleading and trying to trap you, you know, you release the need for all of this armor. And when I say armor, you know, that's a metaphor for all of the boundaries and barriers we create for ourselves that actually keep us separate. Now, I'm hearing that this remains a mystery to you. You know, you're still not sure what a healthy boundary looks like. And if you've been trained to, you know, to people please, if you've been conditioned by your experience to put others before yourself, not only do you have no boundaries to protect self, but you're not going to respect the healthy or understand the healthy boundaries of others. And so this can often sometimes lead to a, you know, an unhealthy attempt at defense, an unhealthy attempt at protection. And so this is an energy that really needs to be brought into balance and redefined as something that's supportive rather than obtrusive. Sorry, this is a really deep energy, the energy of Nut, this mystery card. So Spirit's saying nothing matters. You know, everything can happen, and yet, you know, whilst everything is possible, nothing's impossible. I don't know, they're just saying it doesn't matter which way we go. There is no such thing as better than one route that's better than another. It's all the same. You know, whether we think we're achieving what we're meant to or what we want or not, it's all the same. You know, they're saying there is an explanation for everything, and yet there's nothing, which is really confusing. Saying love your unhappiness and hate your unhappiness, it's all the same. It's all mixed up. Nothing matters. So that's actually quite a profound message for me as well. I'm not saying that it was meant for me, but I mean, it's quite a profound understanding, isn't it? To think, well, everything is just as it is and there's no right or wrong. And in truth, it doesn't actually matter. You know, your goal is just to heal through these dark emotions and purify them. And by being here, you do that for others as well. You know, this is what we're seeing. It's like an alchemy of emotion, you know, knowing how to stay balanced and connected to your own energy, even when it's painful, you know, to be your own best friend, to surrender to it, you know, mindfully, and to be able to cope with it. It's about listening to the language of your own energy and your own heart. It reminds me of that, there's a quote, and I think it was, I'm really bad at remembering names, but I think it was Leo Tolstoy. And he made a comment about how only those of us that are actually capable of real big love suffer so much, you know, but that, you know, it's through that loving that we counteract the grief, but we can't have one without the other. And so your suffering isn't in vain. You know, when you understand and accept your own dark experience, you become consumed by light and you are purified. And, you know, the fact that this is a waterfall really indicates very strongly this is connected to the emotional body. And we see that river running behind in protection as well. But here they're ahead of their emotions. Laughter. You need to have more fun. You know, you need to create more space for just being and for just reconnecting with that playful childlike joy that you missed out on the first time around. Animals are strongly indicated for you, and when this comes out in a soul's mission reading, you know, the animal kingdom, especially protection, there could be a sign here that you're going to be involved in animal care, healing, activism, rescuing, something along those lines. You've maybe always been one of those very gentle souls that feels pulled towards, you know, saving the little bumblebee or whatever creatures, you know, need you in any given moment. You're always the person that will take the time to step in and help. There is great wisdom for you to connect with through the animal kingdom here. So This is guiding me towards more shamanistic practices. Oh God, the cat's being sick now. Or the cat's purging for you. I don't know what that says about this animal kingdom and wisdom stuff. Come on, Derek, what are you doing? Bless him. It's actually a hairball, but purging for you. But yeah, the shamanistic practice of journeying within, of working with animal energy and, you know, drawing wisdom from that is definitely going to be important to you. Now, okay, so my guides are asking me to explain shamanism in a way which is easier for you to receive. Now, shaman is the word we use for indigenous practitioners of earthly spiritual matters, if you would like. I don't particularly resonate with the label shaman. I guess it helps us define the practice of working with the earthly energies, because they you know, they work with the middle world and the underworld, which is all about the very earthly animals energy, the energy of creation and plants and so forth. But all the tools and the pomp and ceremony are very specific to individual cultures, and you don't necessarily have to bring them into your practice. Really, the shamanistic process I think your guides are referring to is aligning with the energy of animal spirits and working with it and journeying with it, and also practicing in a very nature or earth inspired fashion. This is where you're going to connect with your wisdom. You know, you don't have to be a shaman. You know, you can still adopt those practices. I mean, even the spirit release therapy I do is a modern clinical version of shamanism. People tell me all the time, you're a shaman, aren't you? And I, as I said, I don't align with that label, but the way I work is shamanistic, and it's about journeying, you know, recognizing that there are alternate realities for us to explore, where we can get wisdom and understanding from. There's a lot of purity available to you from this practice, and I have to say, you know, from working with animals, they have very neutral and beautiful energy that you can trust. And I feel you've always been drawn to the animal kingdom for this reason, because you recognize, you know, they are much more benevolent and loving beings than humans can often be. There is no ego with animals sometimes, but very little ego when you compare it to human beings. Okay, so let's get some final guidance cards for you. We're going to get a postcard from Spirit that I'm going to read as well, and also some charms before we take this over to the extended. Okay, so that's your postcard from Spirit. We'll look at that last. And some guidance cards from the Divine Abundance deck, and some charms as well. We've got signs, self-love, and grounded. Beautiful energies. I'm giving this one a shake. Is Mercury in retrograde? At the time of uploading, I don't believe it is, but it might be worth checking if you're watching this at a later date. The Instagram camera, the moth, dusk till dawn, everything will be all right, wizard in training, lit, light bulb, the loner club, and the pocket watch. So the guidance for you that's come through is very interesting. Signs, instincts, and the messages from the inner divine. You've got to learn to trust your own truth, because the world has taught you to apply logic, rationale to all of your circumstances. You often ignore your gut feelings, you know, because they don't stack up logically, and that's how you've been taught to make decisions. You're being asked to just align with how things feel. You know, your inner compass will always tell you what's right or wrong, but it doesn't have a critical buy factor. It might not give you a why. It might not even let you know, you know, what's next. It's just about having a feeling that this is the right thing. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure where it's going to lead, but I feel a very strong magnetic pull in that direction. And there are only two energies that you need to get accustomed to. with your intuition. One is magnetism and one is resistance. When you feel a powerful, passionate urge to do something, follow the urge. Trust that instinct. When you feel a powerful resistance or repellent energy towards something, don't do it. Even if it looks glorious and stacks up on paper. You know, the universe will continue to communicate with you in ways that it can. So pay special attention to signs. You know, if you're trying to make a decision and you can't discern between ego and truth within you, if you can't get that inner compass aligned in a way which makes you feel confident, then ask the universe for a sign and trust that that sign's going to make its way to you in the right way. You know, in whichever way you're able to receive it. It might be through being drawn to a reading like this and your sign comes through. It might be that spirit will find some other way to deliver those signs. But in the absence of that connection, that conversational connection to your spirit guides at this present time, pay attention to the signs. This is how your guides actually reach you. Self-love. Let the wall that separates me from my own vulnerable inner child, let the wall fall. It says, I long to take care of myself like never before. This is, this came up as we discussed earlier. This is a very important part of what you're doing. It's up to you to repair the damage in your childhood. It's up to you to reparent yourself, to be your own mother, your own father, and your own best friend, to take your inner child, that wounded part of yourself, by the hand and to give it love on a daily basis. That's what's going to lead you towards fulfillment, resolving this grief, and it's up to you to do this. It's interesting that beneath the animal kingdom we had grounded, and it says many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks living with joy, dignity and courage. Remember this desire we saw here for you to be recognized? You only need to recognize yourself, and the earth and all of its energies, including the animal kingdom, recognize your extraordinary and beautiful heart. But it's more important that you recognize it yourself and just allow yourself to be a regular person. When you give yourself the love you need, you release the need for external approval or validation that you so desperately long for right now. Why can't anyone see I'm a bad person? And the thing is, when someone's manipulating you, when you're, on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse, they will tell you such horrible things about yourself. They will make you question your own integrity. And it's really crazy making. You have to learn to love yourself and not doubt yourself and be grounded in who you truly are. Mercury in retrograde, as I said, I don't know if it is at the point of upload. I'm pretty sure it isn't. But when Mercury is in retrograde, communication is a challenge. Mercury is the planet of communication, and when it's moving backwards, it's really best to avoid difficult conversations at that time. But for this to come up in terms of soul purpose and soul mission, for me, this reveals that there is some issue in and around communication that you are perhaps too heavily armored to acknowledge. Here comes Derek again. We've also got the Instagram camera. There is a message here about your snooping tendencies. And, it's said that people photograph what they care about the most. And you need to focus on what you're recording about your life and what that reveals about you. You are going to transform in a powerful way, and your journey is a hard one because, as I said, you're coming out of the dark into the light, and you have to walk yourself along that path. But your spirit guides are with you, from dusk until dawn, and they're saying, look at this, everything will be all right. Now, don't be disheartened by your slow progress with your spiritual ascension and psychic development. You are still training, and it's going to be okay. Right now, you are perhaps meant to be on your own, because you need to learn to be independent in loving self and resolving these shadow aspects. But you will have a light bulb moment, and that's when everything changes. That's when you step into abundance. This is about believing you are worthy and deserving of everything you ever wanted, including all the love. And with this stopwatch coming up, for me, it's just a matter of divine timing. The numbers highlighted here are number 1 and number 7. Number 1 is the number of unity, and number 7 is the energy of divinity. So, it definitely feels like you can trust, but the love that you can give yourself is bigger than what anyone else can give you, I promise. So let's read your postcard from Spirit. Dear you, what is true for you? Can you be impeccable with your word? Sure you can. As long as it's not used to manipulate others, the truth can set everyone free. Let go of the results, let go of your fears, and allow the truth to empower you and others. This will set into motion a kind of change that will be supportive of you and loving and all kinds of prosperous. This is not a time to compromise and hide your truth from others. Whatever it is you want, go for it and be clear in your motives, especially with yourself. You will be so happy that you did. This is a time where you will tap into the power to co-create and manifest your best life. Doesn't that feel amazing? And the results, miraculous. When you tell the truth and ask the same of others, you can learn a lot from life's bountiful lessons and achieve your dreams. So this is what came through very strong. You are a bringer of truth. So remember, with this Knight of Swords energy, you know, you need to move forward with that truth regardless, even though that's challenging and triggering and hard, because not everyone is ready to listen or align with it. But as long as you can and you can live in your truth, that is enough, pile one. I really hope that was helpful. I'm going to take this over to the extended reading. If this resonated for you, you can find the link for that in the description box below. But thank you so much for joining me here today. It was a pleasure to do a different kind of reading for you. And Derek wasn't too troublesome, even though he's puked up a dirty hairball on my carpet. But thank you so much for your beautiful comments. I love to read the feedback in terms of how you've received this reading, and for hitting the like button. And thank you so much for all of the very, very generous donations and gifts that you guys send, and for watching my commercials. I appreciate it so much. If you do send a PayPal donation, please be sure to include your postal address, because I like to send a little handwritten thank you note to those of you that are so generous in that way. But thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Moonchild Tarot and this piece of ruby in zoisite. And we are asking today, what is your soul's purpose? Now, if you skip the intro today, it might be worth going back to listen, because I do explain in quite a lot of detail in that part of the video what it means to have a destiny and what destiny is. It might help you to understand that before we proceed. But really, when we ask about your soul's purpose, what we're really asking is, where are you heading? What's meant for you? What are you supposed to be learning and doing? And what do you need to know about this to help you move forward in alignment with your truth and your real path, your true path? So we're going to choose a ton of oracle cards as well for you. We're going to use the charms. There will be an extended today as always. But while I'm shuffling, just take a nice long deep breath for me. And just set the intention that you're willing to receive the messages from the universe that are meant for you. Open your heart to receiving those. And you can ask for a sign as well if that feels good for you. A sign can be anything. It can be an object, a phrase, a number, an animal, a symbol, a name, anything at all that feels good to you. And that just helps to validate the messages that come through. So let's do this, part 2. What is your soul's purpose? Okay, so we've got the 7 of Cups in reverse. We've got the Page of Swords, the Death card, and the King of Pentacles. The 9 of Swords in reverse, the Page of Pentacles, the 7 of Pentacles in reverse, and the High Priestess. Let's get some oracle cards out as well. So this is the Sacred Power Oracle deck. We've got Affirmations and Animal Kingdom. That came out for pile 1 as well. From the Goddess Oracle, we've got Yamaya, Surrender. We've got Uzumi, Laughter. And we have Ixchel, Creativity. And from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle, we've got Victim, we've got Impatience, we've got Mysticism, And from the animal spirit oracle by the Wild Unknown, we've got bear, bat, 2 bears come out for you there, and lamb. Just move those over. And finally, from the Divine Abundance oracle, energetic clearing, Kali Ma, with that one. Okay, we'll get some more as we go, part 2, but let's start where we are. What is your soul purpose? This life is about doing for you. It's about getting out of your fantasy dream state, which is pleasurable and indulgent, but not productive because you don't have faith in its potential to become your reality. You're someone that has an incredible amount of vision. You know, you can imagine and visualize how you want your life to look, down to the finest details. But excellence isn't something we act out. It's something, you know, that we make a habit. You're not what you, you know, you're not what you imagine unless you put inspired action behind it. There's also an incredible amount of child trauma here. The Page of Swords and the Page of Pentacles. We've got the 9 of Swords in reverse and this victim energy. Now, this is similar to pile 1, but I'm hearing very different purpose, but similar circumstances in terms of where you've been. But this is about recognizing that your triggers are your responsibility, and it isn't the world's obligation to walk on eggshells around you. I understand that you have been through a great deal of pain, and that has resulted in you being exceptionally sensitive to any perceived slight or criticism, constructive or otherwise. You have a really difficult time, you know, I guess trusting when people are, whether people are communicating with you from a heartfelt place of truth. And you're very easily triggered because you have such a fragile sense of self as a result of the experiences you've had in childhood. A lot of the chronic relationship dysfunction that you've experienced has been based on, you know, your willingness to tolerate the same kind of behaviors that you saw demonstrated in your youth. And you know, attachment wounds, when they're connected to our childhood especially, you know, they sit within our nervous system. And so your nervous system's experience of intimacy and vulnerability are the trauma triggers. You know, so that the invitation here is for you to decide exactly what your current personal healing path, your unique path is, you know, and to allow it to evolve organically out of what you intuitively know you need. And that has to be balanced with the very practical doing energies that so far you struggle with. You know, as I said, you have incredible vision. You're a very creative person. You can imagine your life in such perfect detail, but you don't go after it. You know, you don't make it happen. You kind of just indulge this daydreamy state, but you don't actually pursue what it is that you want. I think when it comes to attachment, it's important to mention to you specifically, you pile 2, that, you know, wanting a connection with another human being, wanting love is perfectly normal. And, you know, it's not necessary part of our well-being, but it's a healthy thing to have. You know, we are wired to seek that intimacy with others. So, you know, voicing desire to be close to others is not a sign of codependency. Valuing emotional connection is a beautiful thing, but needing it and being bereft without it is where you struggle the most. Now, because dysfunctional families don't recognize that they don't recognize that a problem in communication exists. You know, these kind of families operate from the perspective of denial. This was your experience. So when you spoke up about the dysfunction you're experiencing, you were ignored or even reprimanded for going against the grain, or, you know, the context of denial that your family kind of cooperated with, I guess. It feels like you were a bit of a black sheep in that circumstance. Everyone else just kind of accepted it as norm, and you always felt that it was very challenging and toxic. And, you know, this kind of codependent attachment trauma occurs when our parents don't actually know us or make time to get to know us as a person. So there was likely little to no engagement or emotional investments in you, you know, in who you were and your important feelings. And so even though your parents may have been, you know, decent caretakers and present, it feels like you're emotionally ignored. And, you know, when our parents ignore us, they send the message, I love you, but you don't matter that much to me, not enough for me to actually get to know you. And so this general lack of self-worth has stayed with you. It's stayed with you. And, you know, as I said, a lot of the dysfunction in the relationships in your life so far has been based on that willingness to tolerate the same kind of behaviours that you experienced in childhood, but also as a result of your failure to take responsibility for your own feelings. You know, this victim energy or this victim consciousness, this is someone that wants to be saved. You know, they want everyone to tiptoe around their feelings and make it okay. The message here is that, you know, it really is easier to judge and blame others than it is to reflect on who we are. You know, that our pain hurts so much that we just want it to go away. You know, so we end up, I guess, distracting ourselves, you know, and focusing on other people's behaviours, their messed up life, their mental health, how they're failing us. So, you know, your soul's purpose here, the invitation being extended to you by Spirit, is to relieve yourself of thinking about those people that have hurt you, and relieve yourself of trying to make them change to fit in with your needs and to begin meeting your own needs. This is when you will resolve the pain that's in you. It's like you need to prove that your person or the people around you are the source of your problems. You know, it means turning them into, like, I guess, the identified culprit. And, you know, this just objectifies the people that you're trying to be close to. And it makes them, you know, the one to receive the blame, or singles them out as the person that needs fixing, or that needs to change or adjust their boundaries if there's going to be any possibility for growth or for repair. But you've got to recognize yourself as equally participating and taking responsibility for your own feelings. That's what comes through very strongly here. All of this is rooted in childhood. And there's an energy of urgency about this, you know, that you just want everything now. You spend a lot of time in this daydreamy state, but you don't allow yourself to the room or space to actually create what you want. This life is about abundance. Your soul's purpose in this life is to align with the truth of who you are, take control of your life, and earn for yourself the stability, security, and love that you desire so much. And, you know, I'm guided to remind you as well that not everybody is dysfunctional or manipulative or abusive. You know, because you've come from this type of background, you have a predisposition towards framing how you see these different kind of relationships with really toxic or suspicious assumptions. you know. And so part of your mission in this life is to recognize that you mustn't view new people in your life through the same lens of those dysfunctional patterns that you've experienced. You've got to judge people on who they are, and not on the people, you know, not based on your experience of who people can be. And this is an energy you've carried through many lives, is what I'm hearing. You know, this isn't a new thing for you. It's about improving who you are. You know, the goal is growth. Everyone is damaged. Most people, you know, need healing of some kind, and not everyone is aware of how to heal. Not everyone has those answers, but you're guided to release how you perceive others and their problems, and to really focus on fixing yourself. These 2 pages, these are about messages, but this also communicates, you know, those dysfunctional childhood patterns in resolving conflict. These are very deep energies. The Death card, you know, this is about transformation and resurrection. It's rising from the ashes like the phoenix to reveal the truth of who you are. We've got moth, butterfly and snake energy here, all powerful symbols of transformation, metamorphosis and resurrection. This is about shifting out that old victim mentality so that you can begin investing in your future. You've got 2 7s in reverse here, and both of those, pardon me, both of those communicate the absence of investment and patience. And we have got patience here. You know, in the 7 of Pentacles in reverse, you know, you want everything to change, but you're not prepared to take the steps to actually make it happen. Again, there's a lot of doing that needs to happen here. And you mustn't get lost in the what ifs or the if onlys, you know. Your trauma mindset doesn't recognize itself. And you need to be in recognition of the fact that, you know, a mistake, when it's repeated many, many times over, isn't a mistake anymore, it's a decision. You know, as a traumatized child, you always dream that someone would come and rescue you and make this dream life you think about a reality. But you never assumed that that would in fact be you saving yourself, you know, as an adult. Mysticism is definitely in your lineage. But it's something that you're not trusting in. You're not trusting in your own divinity. You're not trusting. You're not trusting in who you are and in your own light. You perceive everyone else as being more strong or more powerful or more mystical. And, you know, this energy of having this vision in your head of how things should be, but not having the strength or courage to actually move forward and get it for yourself because it feels so impossible, is what actually keeps you stuck. And it reminds me of that quote, whether you think you are or you think you are not, in both cases you're right. Because of course, you know, we manifest what we believe, and affirmations are coming up here strong for you. And with the King of Pentacles, the ultimate manifestor, the King of Abundance, clarified by the High Priestess, you know, this really demonstrates that you have a great deal of manifesting power if only you choose to take responsibility for it and step into that energy. Pardon me. You were a victim of your own past, but who you are now is on you, pile 2. This is your soul's purpose, to recognize your power to create for yourself the life that you want, to surrender to your own magic, you know, to your own strength. And we have laughter and creativity here as well. It feels like you've been very practical and very pragmatic in the way you've pursued life. You know, you've been sensible, you've been responsible, you know, and you've not given yourself a lot of time to be playful and to have fun. These are very, they're very tricky energies. And patience. You know, when your path is laid down and it feels dark and you can't see the road ahead clearly, or you can't see that it's leading to what you want, you can't see if there's a light, you know, waiting at the other end, you've got to remember that there were times in your life when you really thought you weren't going to get through it, and you did. You know, you did get through it. So far you have 100% track record of getting through it. But yeah, you may appear confident, but you need to start making your goals a reality. This message for me confirms that no one else is going to do it for you. You know, if your goal has been to find a rich partner to take care of you, the message here is that you've got to start learning to do that for yourself and to depend on yourself. This is what you're being called to. The bear comes up twice for you, and for me the bear is a very comforting animal, but it's also very powerful and very courageous, and I'm really drawn to the energy of hibernation with the bear. You know, the way it takes time for itself and rests through the darker times. And this is, again, you know, you've got to give yourself the love and space to create the life you want, to be playful. You know, to see life through that lens of your beautiful dreams and visions, and trust that you can make it a reality. When you release all those limiting beliefs and the stress, and I feel like you've been through a lot of depression, you know, you have come through that and you are feeling stronger, but you hold on to all of this bitterness that makes you still feel like such a victim. You know, you're so frustrated and resentful still of the people that hurt you, not realizing that, you know, this is what keeps you stuck. So the bear asks you to honor yourself, to be brave enough to take that time and space to give you what you need. And the bat is another symbol of finding our way in the dark. You know, the bat can't see where it's going. It listens to a frequency, an intuition, to help navigate its way through the darkness. And we've got all of these beautiful colors here represented in the bat. The reds, pinks and oranges, which are all associated with, you know, our earthly practical affairs, the energy of manifestation, but also spiritual power and inspired drive. The lamb is about your vulnerability, and it's such a contrast to the bear, isn't it? You've got predator and prey here, but the lamb is about, you know, allowing yourself to be gentle. Real strength isn't in being assertive or aggressive. You know, it's in having a deeply compassionate heart. And I understand that for you, it's really hard to trust when the only evidence from your past is that you shouldn't. But again, your mission here is to recognize that you can't judge every person you meet by the experiences you've had. Everyone's different. Everyone's bringing something else to the table. And when you start showing up differently and perceiving something differently, you will get a different result. And it feels like you've tried everything to shake these feelings of general malaise and misery. You know, you may have smoked and drunk and you know, had some crazy moments, anything to kind of try and make your heart feel less heavy. And you need to know that you're not a bad person, you know, for the ways that you tried to resolve your own sadness. And it wasn't just your heart, you know, your mind suffered as well. But you do distance yourself from joy and from positivity when you're not in the mood you want to be. You know, you have this ability to step into being heartless because sometimes it's too painful to be in your heart space. You know, but you're being asked to recognize that when you shut down, you don't have to shut all the way down. you can stay in your light and stay in your own power. Affirmations and animal kingdom coming up together. You know, the animal kingdom is much more neutral and less egoic than the human race, as I'm sure you're aware. I just want to call out the animals that are represented here, because you've got the eagle, the wolf, the stag, and the owl. You may have asked for these as signs, but you know, the eagle is a symbol of high perspective, the owl is wisdom, the stag is divine masculine energy, and the lone wolf represents both our ability to be in solitude and also to be part of a community. It reminds you that there is a happy balance between the two. You know, you don't have to be such an island. It feels like you've reached the point where people have disappointed you so much that, you know, you've kind of just developed this very hard skin that doesn't let people come close to you, and yet you crave that closeness. You know, you long to be part of something deeper, part of something more meaningful, is what it feels. Energetic clearing says, during the crisis, the Holy One herself may be emptying you of fear and attachments, preparing you to receive her luminous plan. And that's Kali Ma. You know, energetic clearing is about recognizing which shadow aspects are keeping us stuck. We've also got the rainbow dragon. That's the second dragon that came out for you. Sound, which very much connected to that bat energy. And rest, again, the bear energy. So, you know, with sound, this is about listening to the sound of your own truth, the sound of your own soul. You know, with a high priestess and mysticism, you definitely have a skill that leans towards clairaudience, and the answers and the solutions and the truth is in you. The rainbow dragon is a very mystical and powerful animal, and it has enormous strength. Again, it carries the energy of spirit and fire. You know, we think of the dragons breathing fire, breathing passion, breathing life. And I love how it's represented here as a rainbow, embodying all of the energies that you need. And again, the dolphins also connect to play, you know, to laughter and being joyous and playful. And yet it's related here with rest, that energy of hibernation that came through with the bear. So for you, I don't see a very specific mission other than literally learning to make your dreams a reality. You are a powerful manifestor. You are supposed to be very abundant, and you are worthy of the dreams and the life and the visions that you've spent so long cultivating in your mind and indulging. But you need to align that now with your spiritual power so that you can actually bring it into reality and make it happen for you. Really powerful energies for you, part 2. There's a lot here to heal, but as I said, you may be an anxious person, but you appear very confident. You do have strong skills when it comes to leadership. You just haven't turned your attention to the right projects which have, you know, helped you yield the kind of abundance and life you deserve. We've got expansion, growth, and impasse. So, you know, you've got to embrace the higher perspective that's being presented to you, not just in this reading, but by life in general. We've got reframe, deepening, divine abundance, and chance. So yeah, when we allow ourselves to grow, we open doors. And look, this is such an interesting card because these doors in the background lead to the emergency room. Never noticed that about this card. So, you know, this is almost like when you're in a state of flux and everything feels really challenging, really hard. This is when you're experiencing the most growth. You know, it's about learning to recognize life's challenges as purposeful. And to be fair, pain isn't always purposeful. You know, sometimes pain is just pain. It wasn't intended for us. It's just the way things worked out because everybody has free will. And, you know, pain happens. But there is always growth available to us through those lessons. You've been stagnating for a long time because you're resting on your laurels and waiting for that rescuer to come along and help your life be the magical kind of, you know, dreamy vision that you had. This is happening for me, not to me. You've got to reframe your experiences and recognize that they made you who you are, and who you are is enough. You're very special, part 2. You're very unique. You are really strong. And, you know, people often think that traumatized people are weak and fragile. You know, broken people must be so weak and fragile. You're not. You know, traumatized people are the strongest people. They are survivors. You know, to go through hell and come back and still have your heart intact is a bold thing. And, you know, the problem is, whilst your heart is intact, it's under lock and key. You know, you have this tendency to shut yourself down. It says here, with this deepening, once you're on earth, for enough lifetimes, your old soul will begin to long for non-grasping detachment and surrender. They bring the peace of God. You know, your old soul is now recognizing that need for surrender. You know that that's what you're aiming for, but at the moment, you're not taking the actions to make it happen. Studying and watching YouTube videos isn't making it happen. Knowledge isn't power. It really isn't. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge can help inform how we use power, but it isn't actually power. Power is in our will. It's in our desire to actually manifest what we know and what we believe, and that requires doing. As I said, there is a gap between knowing, which is knowledge, and being, and the bit in the middle for you is doing. And we see here with this divine abundance, you were born to align with love's will. Follow the Tao and serve something beyond the ego. Learn to be abundance and not chase it. And that is just sitting in the faith that all of these beautiful dreams and visions you have can and will become your reality. When you align with that truth, everything starts to shift. Now, we had the Death card with change and transformation, and it's come through again with you here. When the ego finally sees the utter madness of trying to control everything, you come to a sacred crossroads in your own evolution. And this is Durga here. You know, she has so much power, so many tools, so many skills to be able to move forward in the way that you're meant to. But right now, your own trauma and your ego and your perception of how you think things should be is getting in the way of you actually clearing space, creating space for what's meant to be. You know, and that requires you to take responsibility. Above all else, that message comes through really strong. You know, be responsible. What else do you need to know about your soul's purpose? We've got the Two of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Knight of Pentacles. Fail to prepare and prepare to fail. You know what you want, but your indecisiveness about how to get it means that there's never a plan to move forward. And it's not just about being prepared and having a plan, it's trusting and believing in that. Again, we've got the King of Wands, who is a powerful spiritual leader. And I think this is perhaps how you see yourself, you know. And so you've got to trust that everything that you've been through will one day inform how you support other people and how you bring light into this community. But you have to decide for yourself. You know, again, this is that doing energy. And when the Knight of Pentacles comes up in reverse, this is someone that has no concept or plan of how to proceed. It's just a wish that they don't really give much credence or attention to. But wishes without plans, or goals without plans, are just dreams. And this seems to be the obstacle here, that you're not willing to pursue your dreams because you don't believe you can have them. You know, the star, when it comes up in reverse, well, it is the wishing card. So when it comes up in reverse, it really demonstrates that pessimism, that lack of optimism or belief in the potential for wish fulfillment. But with the Eight of Swords, when you align with that, things will begin to change rapidly. This is a powerful symbol of incoming abundance and manifestation for you. We've got the Tower in reverse. This is actually really positive, because what I'm hearing with this card is that you've already been through the worst of the trauma you are to experience in this life. It doesn't mean that there won't be more suffering, because we all suffer in different ways, but you really have been through the worst of it and you have nothing to fear. you know, you are ready now to step into your higher mission and to step into higher learning. You're definitely going to be a teacher and role model for others in some way, in a very spiritual way. But first, you've got to learn to let go of this idea that someone else can do it for you. You know, your soul's destiny is to take yourself there. And the gap that needs to be bridged is an emotional one. You know, to recognize, again, with mysticism and the High Priestess. Remember, the High Priestess is emotionally and intuitively receptive. That's her power. And so, you know, we see here in this Six of Cups, which is a very soulmate energy, that the castle in the distance is blocked by this body of water. You have to learn to navigate your emotions and your intuition to be able to get where you want, to be able to achieve the dream. The wolf shows up again for you here, and you know, this is also taking a leap of faith, you know, learning to take steps in the dark. That you can't always know exactly what's going to happen, and that's okay. You know, your anxiety often means that you really struggle to make decisions about how to move forward unless you've got some kind of concrete evidence or assurance that it's going to be safe and okay. You know, it's a risk aversion born of your fear that life isn't going to work out for you. But the truth is, we can never really know what's going to work out or not. You know, we can only hope for the best and move forward anyway. And this is what you're being called to do, and powerfully so. Let's get some final guidance cards for you, part 2, before we take this to the extended. So from the Goddess Oracle, we've got Hathor, pleasure, Lady of Beasts, relationship, changing woman, cycles. And from the Sacred Power deck, we've got protection, reflection. These both came up for pile 1. And abundance again. You see, this is big for you. You are meant to be abundant. You're meant to have everything you want. It's yours. You just got to take it. Fish, buffalo, and spider. And I'm going to get a postcard from Spirit for you that I will read at the end. Okay, that one wants to come out. We'll put that there for the end, and let's get some charms for you as well. Okay, that one fell out. What is that? It says thank you. It's like a little flower. Okay, let's see what we have here. We've got another tiny one. This is a winged heart. We've got hard times. You are safe with me. I don't know why my camera's not focusing. There we go. You're safe with me. Is it focusing? I'm trying, and that's enough. Friends don't lie. The bullshit remover. Hello, I'm a bad idea. The police car. The rainbow. The bumblebee. The stethoscope. And the blank piece of paper. So, pleasure, laughter, playfulness, this has come up strong. And also I'm seeing all of these little dandelion seeds here in her hand that are kind of blowing away. Of course, we associate them with wishes as well. When you're in this daydreamy state, you know, because as we said, you have powerful vision, you have powerful skill when it comes to visualizing and imagining and envisioning how life can be. When you're taking pleasure in doing that, allow yourself to align with the energy of belief and faith. Allow yourself to enjoy that experience of imagining your life as you want it. Enjoy it as though it's already happening for you and it's real. When you get into that stream of consciousness that believes and has faith, that's when your manifesting power becomes huge. Now the bear has come up for you again here. We've also got another deer, a dove, a horse, and I think this is a jaguar. It may be a female lion, but it's referred to as Lady of Beasts, and we see she's pregnant, and this says relationship. Now, a pregnant lady always refers again to abundance. We associate this with the energy of the Empress and, you know, the bountiful harvest. So again, trust. There's a powerful message for sure about the animal kingdom and aligning with the energies of the animal kingdom that you need to definitely investigate. But you can definitely have the relationship you want. But first you have to have the relationship you need with yourself. That's what creates space for you to actually embrace the relationship that you want. Changing woman and cycles, you know, the transformation and change energy has come through strong for you. You know, this is your primary soul purpose, to recognize your power to transform self and the life you're living into one that is abundant and satisfying and fulfilling and that can bring you pleasure. You know, you are divinely protected. We've got energetic clearing and protection here, but that's something that you need to be aware of. And remember, we said about how your heart is under lock and key. Look how much armor this person is wearing. You know, you've got to be mindful of what and who you're protecting yourself from. Sometimes being overly defensive, you know, can create more obstacles for us than we realize. Reflection features another wolf. That energy has come through strong for you. And we see again this wolf in the background, another one, sorry, in the foreground, and another one howling in the background. You know, both the ability to be at peace in solitude as well as part of a loving, companionable connection. Abundance again, look at this. The universe is offering you all the gifts. It only wishes you could align with your divine purpose and take them. Step into your power. And again, the fish is another symbol of that Pisces high priestess energy, connecting your intuition to help heal the wounds of your past. This is a red moon, and red is the color of the root chakra, which is where we store all of our childhood pain and trauma. And it's through your emotional receptivity and your intuition that you're going to illuminate the shadow aspects that still remain from those experiences. The buffalo reminds you to stand strong and firm, you know, to continue being diligent. This is that Taurus energy that we saw with the King of Pentacles, you know, being a master of your own destiny, of your own abundance. The King of Pentacles is the King of Abundance. He is a leader. He's a winner. You know, this is the energy you're being asked to embody, to recognize who you really are. And the spider, again, is a very industrious creature. You know, it works very independently, it works diligently, and it creates its own abundance. The spider weaves its own web. It needs no help. You know, and it recognizes that when it weaves this web, it catches everything that it needs. When it takes care of itself like this, it's provided with everything it needs for itself. As I said, you're safe now. You're safe. You know, you have moved through the hard times already. You've already been through the hardest parts of your living experience, and you are now safe in your own power. It's safe for you to embody that, you know, but be patient with yourself. Remember that energy of impatience that came in really strong. You are trying, and that's enough. You know, if through this reading you've been beating yourself up, you know, if you've been triggering it, there's the sign to stop treating yourself that way. I'm doing enough, and that is okay. You know, you've got to start seeing through the BS. And I'm hearing to be able to smell your own BS as well. You know, to recognize when, you know, you're not being honest with yourself. You just don't see your power. You know, you don't see yourself worthy of love, worthy of abundance, worthy of, you know, the spiritual kind of divinity and light that you see others blessed with. You don't recognize it's yours. Friends don't lie. Remember, we had a message about not judging everybody by your past experiences. You know, there are definitely friends in your zone of awareness, or people, relationships in your zone of awareness that you've misjudged as a result of how you've been treated in the past. The police card for me is always about investigating the past as well. This might be another sign for you. Perhaps there's something relatable here for you, connected with the police in a more literal sense. But for me, what I'm hearing here is this is about revisiting the past so that you can transcend the shadows that reside there, and, you know, really listening to the truth of your own soul. you know, really paying attention to your own inner guidance and awareness, leading yourself, becoming the queen bee, and recognizing that your opportunities to step into that leadership teacher role and support a community are dramatically enhanced when you take care of yourself. Now, the thank you charm and the little tiny heart, and you know, this winged heart here that we see is actually hollow. You know, an empty heart can't take flight. You've got to allow yourself to fill your heart up and sit in gratitude for all the love you already have. I know you don't perceive yourself as being very loved, but you're blessed, more blessed than many others. Now, when the blank piece of paper comes up, I usually see this as a sign of not communicating. You know, this means that you need to, well, I guess it could be a blank slate as well. A blank page, you know, the writing your own story. But there's definitely a message here about not communicating until you're calm and your heart is full and operating from a place of integrity. Now I'm going to take this over to the extended. We're going to go deeper. If this has resonated for you, you can find the link down below. But thank you so much for joining me here. I really hope this was helpful. Obviously, I've not done these readings before. So if you enjoyed it and you want to see more readings like this, please do let me know in the comments below. I love to hear your feedback, and it really helps inform, you know, what I'm meant to be doing. I didn't read your postcard. Let's do this for you. Dearest you, since you're on Earth, you understand how buildings are built, yes? A good solid foundation and yet flexibility too, in case of earthquakes. Truth be told, you can't offer something sustainable unless it is built from a solid base. Whether it is an idea that takes form one step at a time or an actual house that needs a sturdy foundation dug, poured and built, we want to remind you of this because you might need a little encouragement to see this is true in your life at this time. Celebrate the fact that right now you can repair the cracks in the foundation of your life effortlessly, as well as do a general site check to ensure your hard work is being well supported. Do this and know you are building your life on a perfect and solid foundation that will allow you to welcome the many miracles waiting to come to visit. We're so happy for you and so intrigued by what you're building. What a beautiful message. Thank you so much for tuning in today, Pile 2. Thank you so much for the likes, for your lovely comments, for subscribing. A special thanks to those very generous souls that take a moment to watch my commercials, and to those of you that send donations. That really is so very, very kind of you. I'm always moved by your lovely messages. If you do send a donation by PayPal, please be sure to include your postal address so that I can send you a little thank you note and a little something. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. You guys really are so lovely. But I will see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Witch's Wisdom Tarot and this lovely piece of Bumblebee Jasper. And we are asking today, what is your soul purpose? Now, if you skip the intro today, it might help to go back and watch that, because in that part of the video, I talk about what destiny and fate actually means. And I think it's really helpful to kind of frame that and think about that before we go ahead with this reading. But, you know, in a nutshell, we're asking, where are you heading? What are you meant to be learning? You know, what's meant for you in this life? What do you need to recognize and learn about yourself and your path? Hoping to give you the answers that will empower you to move forward for your highest good. Now, whilst I'm shuffling, let me just sit down, take a moment, you know, to ask Spirit for the messages you need the most. You can be fairly specific if you need to be. You can ask for a sign as well. A sign is what helps us validate the messages that come through. It helps to anchor the truth in the messages that come through. And a sign can be anything at all. It could be a crystal, it could be, it could be an object, a phrase, a place, a name, an animal, numbers. I'll keep that one since it's full out. That's the full. So anything that works well for you. We're going to go really in depth today with this reading. We're going to get oracle cards and charms as well. There will be an extended if this resonates for you. The link for that is always in the description box below. So we have the Fool, the Seven of Wands, the Witch of Fire, that's the Sun in reverse. It's called the Great Mother in this deck. The Moon in reverse, the Three of Swords in reverse, Goddess of Water, and the Messenger of Air. I just want to check, because this is a new deck. I just want to check. I'm pretty sure that the Witch is the Queen and the Goddess is the King, but let's just have a double look here. Oh, I beg your pardon. So that the Witch is the Knight and the Goddess is the King, and the Messenger is the Page. Okay, great. Let's get some oracle cards for you as well. I'm going to start with the Sacred Power oracle cards, and we've got freedom and transformation. And from the Goddess oracle, we've got Lakshmi, abundance, Keridwin, death and rebirth, and Yamaya, surrender. And from the Animal Spirit oracle by the Wild Unknown, we've got the Nightingale, the Frog, and the Eagle. And from the Chakra Wisdom oracle, we've got Perfection. That's come through in all piles today. Creation and Despondence. And from the Divine Abundance deck, we've got Right Now and Awakening. Beautiful. Okay, let's start with what's on the table. We're going to get more out as we go. So it wouldn't surprise me if you were Pisces. I'm getting a lot of Pisces, Aries energy, cusp energy, in fact, which would be your birthday within the last week or so. You are someone that reinvents yourself over and over. There is an incredible amount of passion, creativity, vigor, a really adventurous spirit here. Someone that is able to run with an idea and bring it to fruition. You may be a very accomplished and successful person. You have worked very, very hard. And I'm hearing that you've never really felt that you've accomplished or succeeded in the way that you have wanted to. There is an incredible amount of drive and passion here. But at the moment it's misguided and it hasn't found its true path. It's like you know you are meant for something big. You know that you are meant to make a huge difference in this world. And yet all of the projects and plans that you've run with so far haven't yielded the results and that feeling of accomplishment, that sense of well-being that you had hoped to achieve. Now, you are a natural born healer. You know, this comes through very, very strong. You have very big and powerful light, and undoubtedly, you know, part of your soul purpose is to bring that energy forward and to cultivate more light with, you know, that you can share and help expand the consciousness of others. We've got the Pilgrim here, you know, and there's a fox alongside this pilgrim, and the fox is the energy of strategy. So, you know, when the Fool comes out as a representation of your soul's purpose, it's very much about faith and innocence. Remember, the Fool is a 0. It's the first card in the deck, and 0 represents everything and nothing all at once. It's actually unity and unity consciousness, and you carry this seed of knowing, this seed of wisdom, and this beautiful innocence and playfulness. You know, you have this enormous capacity for powerful transformation. You may have changed dramatically as you've got older, you know, gone through many, many stages and phases and exploring different aspects of your being. And now is the time for you to pull everything together, to recognize that even those parts of yourself that you feel you no longer embody are still very much part of what makes you whole. Now, when the moon comes up in reverse, this demonstrates a lack of trust, a great deal of fear and uncertainty. But what I get with you is that it's actually more connected to staying power. And one of your life missions is to master the art of staying in the energy of belief. You know, you're kind of like a firecracker, like a firework. You know, it all happens very quickly. There's this huge burst of inspiration, powerful inspired action, and then it kind of peters and burns out, peters out and burns out. And it's the anxiety or the fear that you're not aligned with what's meant to be that kind of stops you in your tracks. Now, I want to show you this card because there's quite a few animals here for those of you looking for signs. And we've got the fox, the badger, the rabbit, a warthog, and I believe this is a cow. And there's butterflies represented here and also 2 turtle doves. Now, this is a very different card for the moon. So I'm just going to have a look in the book and see what it tells us, because I love the way this artist has interpreted its energy in such a different way to what we would see traditionally. Yeah, the Guardian. So this is interesting because we have the pilgrim here. Look, it says the pilgrim's quest has stripped away fears and falsehoods, unmade and made again by nurturing darkness and engendering light. He sees himself reflected and affirmed by the world that strengthens and sustains him. He is finding confidence and comfort far greater than wealth or privilege can provide. He has learned that there's always reason for hope. The world he lives in is sacred. What a beautiful deck. So, you know, this is a powerful message because it resonated with the energy of the pilgrim, and we see that this guardian energy is reversed. And I'm really intrigued by how the moon here is described as a guardian. You know, this is a teacher, a leader, a healer, someone who's here to literally guard the secrets of our souls and help people to understand them. But there is a blockage here connected to anxiety and fear. I remember what that said about the guardian. You know, when that card is upright, you know, the guardian, let me come back to it so we can read it again. He sees himself reflected and affirmed by the world and strengthens and sustains him. He finds confidence and comfort far greater than wealth or privilege can provide. And I think this highlights where the issues have been. So far, all of your drive and ambition has been focused on the material accomplishments. You know, this is how you define yourself. Look at me. I'm going to have a big house, or I'm going to drive the right car, or I've got everything I need. And this makes me feel good about myself and who I am and how I'm perceived by those around me. But it feels like in order to pursue your true path, you're going to need to take a step back from this ideal that you have to be materially accomplished. And I'm hearing that when you do that, ironically, that's when you're going to achieve the most material accomplishment. Now, we've got the 7 of Wands here as well, clarified by the 3 of Swords in reverse. And what this reveals to me, and there's herons here. I think that might be a crane, actually. There's herons and the lion here. But the 7 of Wands is all about defenses. And yet in this deck, it's perceived as a lion being in the light with all of these beautiful rose blooms around it. Now, roses are still a very protective energy because they're thorny and prickly. And we can see that he kind of sits just behind them, you know, defending himself. But he's defending himself with a courage and passion that we don't normally see in the 7 of Wands. You know, he's stood in the light. He's stood in growth. He's stood in abundance. He's embracing what he has. But it feels to me like, you know, most of your defenses and boundaries are reasonably healthy and born of a very real need to protect yourself. But some of that energy is distorted. When the 3 of Swords comes up in reverse, this reveals a lot of unresolved grief. And what I'm hearing here is that you have really hardened yourself, you know, when it comes to matters of the heart, when it comes to intimacy and, you know, allowing yourself to be softer in this world. That's something you really, really struggle with. It's kind of that fear of being too sentimental, you know, but everything that you are passionate about, and I'm hearing your real passions sit outside of the workplace, you know, they're not connected to the work you're presently doing. you're very commercially minded, perhaps very entrepreneurial. So the work you're doing, again, is focused on making money rather than pursuing your passions. But it feels like you do have so many passionate interests, and everything you're passionate about is within you for a reason. You know, you are definitely a light worker, you're a healer, you're here to raise the vibration of all living beings. You know, you're here to broadcast wisdom, to broadcast peace, to broadcast love to anyone who needs it. And you really need to step into your true mission. You know, the world is transforming around you right now, and now is your time. But it feels like there is a powerful blockage here connected to grief. And a big part of this is that you needed to stick a finger up at the people that doubted you. You know, it feels like you've got something to prove, and this is where this defensiveness comes from. It's about protecting also what you've already achieved. But for sure, you know, that in order for you to step into your mission, your purpose, you're going to have to let go of who you thought you were meant to be. Now, every healer that I've ever encountered has had a really rough background. You know, typically, if your soul's purpose is to help others heal, then spirit needs to be really certain first that you can heal yourself. You know, that's kind of like our initiation process. You know, that's how we access our true healing powers. And so this heart blockage, this powerful grief energy here, the Three of Swords is all connected to heartbreak, betrayal, very real pain. You know, this presents a very real obstacle to you achieving what you want. And a big part of this is, you know, being too proud to take a step backwards. Genuinely though, the sooner you find that beautiful sweet spot that actually aligns with your passions, this is when you're going to achieve the abundance you so long for. You know, your business, your real business is your soul. You know, that's what you're meant to be doing. And if you can apply all of this commercial power and learning and understanding and drive that you have to healing people, to bringing more light into this world, you're going to realize so much of your potential. This unsettled feeling that you've had your whole life is connected to your soul wanting to align with its true purpose, and it's time for you to answer that call. I'm hearing as well, connected to this, that it's much easier to be angry with people and to carry that burden of resentment than it is for you to communicate with yourself about these emotions, to acknowledge that you are still hurting. As I said, there's a real hardened energy here, and you know, surviving this stuff, which you have survived, you've been really strong. You know, that's supposed to be something that helps us get through, you know, a difficult situation. It's not how we're meant to live, but you've never really kind of shifted that survival mentality. You're always fighting, you're always expecting to be knocked over, punished or pushed backwards. And so you're constantly, you know, fighting or in the defensive to maintain your position. You're being asked to relax, you know, to wash away the energy. It's not yours to carry. There's a strong air energy here coming through as well with these herons, and I'm hearing that, you know, using saging or smoke or incense to cleanse your space and to affirm your beliefs will help align the mind. You can release energy into the smoke that don't serve you, you know, anything that limits you. But you know that nothing is impossible. You know this is what I'm hearing. You know, but with this Knight of Wands now, which is also more of that Aries energy, and I'm really drawn to her, the smoke here as well. I didn't notice that before, even though this is fire energy, she's got that smoke burning, which is what we've just discussed. It's clarified by the King of Cups. You know, your primary goal now needs to be to master the emotional self. You know, because you've hardened yourself to your emotions in order to survive. That's what we're, you know, that spirit means by the survival mode energy. But you know, you are a beautiful and strong person, and you've got to allow yourself to cry. You've got to allow yourself to hurt. You know, you've got to allow yourself to align with the pain that you're feeling. You've got to be, see, you're very much an overthinker, sometimes an overfeeler, but that's what makes you kind of avoid the emotional self. You know, hyper-independence is a result of the trauma you've been through, this desire to not allow anyone to see your vulnerability, this attitude of, you know, I don't need anyone, I can do it all for myself. And what that really demonstrates is that you no longer have the ability to trust people, because you've been hurt by people persistently letting you down, or, you know, not living up to their promises and expectations. You know, okay, so there's a predisposition here as well to being way too firm in your boundaries. So again, you know, using this powerful drive and motivating energy that you can get into to actually explore your feelings. And look at this beautiful card, the Goddess of Water. It represents the King of Cups. We've got fish here, the crab, this beautiful baby in the mother's belly, and the octopus. There's jellyfish up here as well, for those of you that are looking for signs. And this is Scorpio energy. You know, when Scorpio energy comes through, it's about resurrection. And the King of Cups has all of that emotional mastery and power. Now, we've also got the sun here. It's referred to as the Great Mother, and the bear, the hare, and the owl comes up. Also lots of poppies for those of you looking for signs. There's mountains in the background. I'm going to look in the book again, because again, that's a different interpretation of the sun card as we know it. Let's see what the Great Mother says here. In the beginning, the Great Mother poured her starry milk across the night sky to nourish the awakening spirits of her children. She felt their longing to be held and loved. So powerful was the love she felt that she began to dance, spinning faster and faster until the power of her dancing created time and space, stars and planets, and all the elements of creation. Her love created the earth, which was so beautiful as she descended into it, leaving a trail of stars behind her, forever circling the northernmost point in the heavens above. My goodness, I need to read this book. This is beautiful. But look, the essence of this is divine embodiment, creation, love, abundance, generosity, blessings, fulfillment, affirmation. This is in reverse. You know, this is an energy that's blocked for you. And it's because all of that drive and ambition and that proactive energy has been pushed into this corporate desire to win, to be successful. It's not aligned with the truth of who you are. Now, the Canada geese as the Page of Swords in reverse here, you know, that your limitation is your inability to connect with the truth in your own soul. You know, you definitely respond to your intuition, but you don't give yourself space to really think about who you are or to address your shadow aspects. Your boundaries are often too firm. You know, when you don't get things your way as well, you have a tendency to linger on the problem, you know, and there's a message here that you've got to learn to step back and evaluate and recognize your power to create the energy that you want. You have access to this wisdom and this power and energy of creation. You're already embodying it in so many ways, but because it isn't in the right way, in the way that's aligned with your true path, again, you haven't, you know, experienced all of the joy and the fulfillment that you long for. You know, you hold yourself very responsible, you know, to very high standards, but, you know, you're not someone to excuse yourself or pity yourself. It feels like you're a very hard master, but you need to redirect that energy at your emotional self and your spiritual practices. And again, you know, this may mean taking a step back. You've got to do what lights you up, you know. Make what lights you up your life's purpose. You've got to start embodying your ultimate vision and feeling into it in the now. And, you know, I'm hearing that you understand the steps to manifestation. And we've got Lakshmi coming up here with the energy of abundance. This is connected to the lotus flower as well. And, you know, it's about visualizing what you want and allowing yourself to be so excited about what you're seeing that you can believe that your desires will manifest. But you've got to accept your belief to manifest as well. And you've got to intend and allow your differences to shine. You know, you've got to allow it. We've got that transformation energy. Again, this links to the Scorpio energy. You know, the energy of the resurrection and the phoenix and finding freedom in your truth. You know, you get very despondent in your work. Again, like that firework energy, like a firecracker that burns out too quickly. And, you know, with this right now, it says stay in the present and don't get too far ahead of the flow. You'll soon trust that nothing more will come than what can be handled in each moment. You know, this is about allowing yourself the freedom to move with what is and not trying to plan or have an agenda for everything. If you've worked in a very determined and corporate way, you're probably used to, you know, risk assessments, financial modeling, you know, figuring out the best way forward. How does it stack up financially? Is this the right decision? You're being asked to leave all of that, just to put it to one side and to align with your power and intuition, which is rooted in your emotional self. Your emotions are a powerful guiding force in your life, and it's really time that you started paying attention to them, and to, you know, not resisting those parts of yourself. This defensiveness as well, you know, it's important to recognize not everyone's meant to be loyal to you. You know, some people do come along as powerful lessons or reminders that we've got to be cautious about the company we keep. So this grief and bitterness that you're holding on to doesn't serve you. You know, it demonstrates a regret or a lack of acceptance of the experiences you've had that actually served you. You know, you are a beautiful, intelligent and phenomenal person. You know, it doesn't matter if someone is disloyal to you or doesn't like you back. You know, you can just let that go. You know, it feels like when rough things happen and your emotional body is triggered, you know, you're in that kind of energy of, yeah, well, I care, you know, shit happens, but you don't really acknowledge it. You don't allow yourself to sit with your pain. You know, you convince yourself, I'm going to get over this person. The pride gets in the way, and you know, you do hold a grudge, but you also have this tendency of pushing people away because you want them to come closer. And when you push them away and they pull back towards you, that gives you the reassurance you're seeking. You know, but yeah, this is a battle between heart and mind. You know, the mind, which is still very much an ego, still very much concerned with the perceptions or opinions of others. Yeah. Something inside is really hurting you. You know, this is why you need these powerful distracting habits. We've got death and rebirth showing up again here. Remember, we had that in the King of Cups and the energy of transformation. And Keridwen shows us here that we have all the ingredients to move through these cycles with awareness and balance. And look, she's putting a mushroom into the pot. And for me, the mushroom is a symbol of growth through our emotional vulnerabilities. Mushrooms grow in damp conditions. It's an earthy energy, but it requires water to nurture it. And, you know, death and rebirth, for me, this transformation that you need to have is surrendering to your emotional body. Again, water is represented by emotions, and here this surrender energy is represented by the mermaid, the shells and the turtle. You know, we've got a lot of bird energy coming here through for you as well, which is why I communicated about the energy of air. We've got the nightingale and the eagle. Now, the nightingale, of course, is symbolic of singing into the dark, of finding beauty and high vibrational frequency despite the shadow. The eagle is about high perspective. And again, this is about recognizing when you're triggered, to step back and evaluate what's actually happening and why you're feeling that way. Your feelings are the feelings are as a result. That's the wrong way of putting it. Your feelings are teaching you about what's happening in your environment. The frog as well, another symbol of creation. Abundance is very strongly coming through here with the energy of creation as well, the right now. But you've got to be more gentle with yourself. Give yourself the freedom to grow what's meant to grow. And this despondence, again, look, this woman's being herself, but look how pissed off this lady is down here. It's almost like you feel, again, that you can't take that step back. You're afraid of what people will think of you if you suddenly become a healer. If you suddenly abandon all of your entrepreneurial ways, to be something different. It's not how you perceived yourself, but it's what you're meant to do. And I feel like, you've overcome so many painful challenges already. You've already grown in so many beautiful ways. It feels like the missing part of the puzzle here is to master the emotional self. We've got divine consciousness, so the spiritual self, sacred wisdom, and personal power. What beautiful energies. I'm loving this white tiger. Oh, hold on, I've dropped my deck. There we go. Let's get some more goddess cards here. We've got the Oranges, Crisis, and Nut Mystery. Let's get some more tarot cards as well. Soul, Purpose, Spirit. What else do we need to know? Clarify these oracles. The Eight of Swords. The Lovers. The Empress. I love how these cards are all so different. And the Eight of Wands in reverse. So different from the traditional Major Arcana. I can't wait to read the book. I can't remember who bought me these. I have got a note somewhere. Thank you so much. Divine Consciousness. Clarified by the Eight of Swords and the Eagle energy. It's a golden eagle coming through both times to you here. Now, you see that snowy mountain in the background? The Eight of Swords is about limiting beliefs. It's about self-entrapment. In the traditional tarot, in the Rider-Waite tarot, what we see is a person that's hemmed in or trapped by a circle of swords. They're surrounded by this kind of, I guess, ill-conceived prison, a making of one's own mind, and they're wearing a blindfold. They look bound and tied up, and they seem to be trapped, but actually they're just trapped by their own conditioned beliefs and limiting ideas about who they are and what this situation is. Through your divine consciousness, you elevate yourself above this limiting beliefs, like the nightingale, seeing the light in the dark, being able to sing or sound light into being and achieve that higher perspective. So you've got to start investing in your spiritual path. You are the carrier of this sacred wisdom. You have so much personal power. This is your truth. This is your strength. And 6 is actually the Lover's card. In this deck, it's called the Maze, and you'll have to forgive me for that. I continue to revert to this book, but I haven't read with this deck, and I'm absolutely fascinated by the different cards. Obviously, traditionally, the Lovers we see as that card of unconditional love, but here it says, on the pilgrim's back remains the pack, but it's smaller now. How far he's come by stepping off the path he knows, by getting lost and tumbling downward, confused, disoriented, and exhilarated. There have been blessings on the way, gold and silver stars in the darkness, but twists and turns lie ahead. The great unmaking has just begun. The old ways are still to be undone. Magic waits within the maze. The pilgrim stands poised upon its edge, and the moment of choosing has arrived as his guide slips out of sight. Who calls from deep within? That is so powerful. So, this is that fear of setting off on an unknown path. Again, that pilgrim, that need to take a leap of faith, but to leave behind what we know and to move forward despite the fear of the unknown. We've got these thunderbolts here, which are a symbol of divine intervention. And that asks you to trust in yourself as a guide, to release the influences around you and to start going within, stepping into the unconditional love inside of you to navigate your way forward. Even Empress energy here is represented as a sun, which is traditionally a masculine energy. All these butterflies, the energies of transformation, as well as the harvest represented here, and again another eagle. We've got surrender energy coming through for you too. Remember, this is about stepping into your divine femininity, and you don't need to move quickly. There is no rush. You know, trust in divine timing. Give yourself the space to move at a pace that's right for you. You know, stop putting pressure on yourself that you need it all now. The energy of crisis, it remains a mystery. You know, this is what the same energy we're seeing with the maze, the fear that it will all go wrong. If I step away from the career I know, the career I'm good at, you know, will I still be successful? What will happen? Will I face a crisis? Will I face a tower moment? You know, Spirit's saying you can't really know that, but rather than focusing on the what ifs, focus on the what could be in a positive sense. You know, it doesn't serve you to dwell in what could go wrong. Instead, this is about trusting that you have all the tools and skills you need to make this happen, and that you are powerful. Pardon me, you are so very powerful. Let's get some more animal cards for you here as well. We've got the raccoon, the lizard, the tarantula, and the deer. And let's get some more of these chakra wisdom cards. We've got guilt, quest, victim, and impatience. Both of these impatience and victims cards came up in piles 1 and 2, I believe. Certainly the victim card did. But these seem to be strong energies that are moving through the collective right now, reminding us of the parts of us we need to heal. When guilt and victim come up together, this always indicates for me a background where you've been conditioned to people please and put other people's needs above your own. You may have grown up in a very narcissistic dynamic. I'm hearing that you may have that middle child energy as well, with a parent that played off the younger and older siblings, and the middle one being the scapegoat. So, you know, there's a lot of guilt here from the family. This came up in part 2 as well. Very different circumstances, but similar energy. And you may have been told you're a bad daughter. You know, it's that energy. It's kind of like you had a mum that perhaps didn't live up to what you felt was good mothering, but still feels entitled to your very special daughtering. And so that even though this still guilt trips you, you know, you are still tied in bondage to this situation. It's like you haven't yet resolved those triggers that incite that kind of guilt and shame in you. This is something you need to focus on. You know, you've got to stop making yourself a victim of other people's dysfunction. This is also part of your quest, your mission and your path. And look at this. You know, you really do get to choose. They're showing you here one very verdant and abundant land and one that doesn't look to be performing so well. You know, you always get to choose. When you see a situation that doesn't serve you, you know, you have to recognize the truth in your opportunity to move away from it. And so you're not always a victim of the behavior of others. Sometimes you're a victim of your own decisions, and there's a need to take responsibility for that and to focus on growing out of that conditioning, reprogramming yourself to respond more lovingly to self. And patience, as I said, comes up a lot here. And we see here this gentleman up the ladder reaching for the moon. And, you know, this is about not giving yourself the time and space to evolve in the spiritual way that you need to. You want it all now. You're so determined to be the best at things, you know, to do what you need to do and to be so successful that you could become very impatient with yourself if you don't move at a pace that, you know, makes you feel good. And you know, this energy of divine consciousness is something that we can spend lifetimes mastering. And you're just being asked to allow, again, things to move at the pace they're meant to, and to not allow yourself to get tangled up with impatience and fear. definitely there's a need to identify with your shadow aspects. It does feel like you're very quick to judge others, but don't always recognize that how we feel about others is usually a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. So you're being asked to sit with that energy and recognize this about yourself. You know, there are lots of small lessons here for you to learn on your life's path that actually add up to one big thing, which is as you heal yourself, you are empowered to heal others. Now, lizard energy, this just reminds me, do you know what? Someone left a comment on one of my other videos saying I was going to ask for a lizard sign, but I figured that probably wouldn't come up. And funnily enough, when I pulled the card on that reading, I thought, I bet no one asked for lizard sign. So it just reminded me today of this particular symbol. But when the lizard comes up, you know, we traditionally associate reptiles with being cold-blooded, uncaring, hard-skinned. And for me, this is about recognizing again the need for you to align with the warmth that is in you. You know, you're not as heartless as you think you are. You've made yourself this kind of tough, strong, assertive person, and it's made you reluctant to address your vulnerable nature. Perhaps you're more in the Aries energy than Pisces energy, but you know, your industrious nature is definitely a trauma response, you know, to not feeling worthy in childhood. And this is what's hardened you. The deer, the female deer, which is all green and connected, the heart space, asks you to soften yourself to the energies that are available to you. Now we're going to get some final guidance cards and some charms as well before I take this to be extended. Let's start with some more of these Goddess Oracle cards. Whoa! Okay, they wanted to come out. What have we got here? Inanna, embracing the shadow. Easter growth, that's come up in every pile today. And Hecate, the crossroads. And I'm going to get a postcard from Spirit, which I will read for you. We'll read that one at the end. And some more of these sacred power cards. Protection, that's also come up in every pile today. Change. Angel assistance. Energy balance, that has also come up in every pile. Isn't that interesting how that works? So many collective energies. Ooh. Okay, one flew out. I'm going to go get it. Sad songs. So many of the same charms come up lately. We've got the hourglass, the yin-yang counterparts, slightly bitter, the asthma pump or inhaler, love hurts, fake news, you are safe with me, that's come up a lot recently as well, and the FU. Okay. So final guidance for you regards your soul purpose path 3. Look at this, the crossroads. You get to choose. This is your free will. Your superpower as a human being is your free will. You get to choose, and you've got to trust in your own choices. Hecate here holds that wand that's got this snake crawled around it, and the snake again is another symbol of creation. But remember what we said about the raccoon and embracing your shadow. You know, Inanna shows us, and I think this is another, it looks like a female lion head on a human form, and it's got like an eagle claw. So both of those energies come through, and something from above, from source, is pouring down this water. The emotional energy here, that, you know, both aspects of yourself, the light and the dark, need to connect with. You know, you might be able to embody your emotions when everything's happy and lovely and fluffy and nice. You know, you're able to be really compassionate and empathic and lovely. But when it comes to your own emotions and identifying your own shadow aspects, currently you are closed off to that. You're not recognizing the value in sitting with your own pain, your own weaknesses, and identifying yourself as wounded. You're so proud. You don't want to see yourself as wounded. That feels so weak to you. But that's actually your power. Your power to acknowledge your weaknesses and vulnerability is what makes you so strong. We have another symbol of the Empress here with Easter and growth. You know, the little rabbit, and there's a unicorn here. She's holding an egg. And this is another Empressy symbol of divine femininity. You know, to remember that your journey is about growth and evolution. And you're someone that's very much aligned with learning, with, you know, really cultivating a knowledgeable kind of persona within yourself. But you've got to learn about who you are. This is about going within and connecting with that body. Look, we had that energy of defense. This has come up for everyone. Look at how much armor this person has on. You know, they've got their sword, they've got their shield. You know, you literally can't see who they are through their armor. And I feel this is a really powerful representation of how you show up in the world. So strong, so capable, so protected. You know, you can't hurt me kind of energy. But in doing so, you stop people getting close to you. You know, this is an emotional avoidance, an avoidance of emotional intimacy. And change has been strongly highlighted in all the cards today. You know, you need to align your heart and your emotional body with the wounding that's within you. And this allows you to embrace your sacred self, your sacred truth. You know, you come off as strong, but you act like nothing is wrong. But sometimes you're just really good at lying about it, you know. This is your toxic trait, that you face everything on your own and you don't admit when you need help because you'd rather struggle than burden people with your problems or let them know that you're weak, you know. So and there's something in you here as well that's really sad. I'm just trying to dig into it. You kind of believe that you're not the kind of person that someone can fall in love with. It's a really sad energy. You see yourself as being so divinely powerful and feminine that you perhaps intimidate men and will never have the kind of relationship you really want. And that simply isn't true. You know, you have so much assistance from the higher realms because you have a powerful mission. You know, you've just got to bring your own energy into balance. And we see here that those shadow aspects help us awaken to the truth of who we are. Remember, awakening came up for you here. So you obviously have a divine counterpart, and this relationship is what will help you focus on those light and dark aspects. You know, this is part of your soul purpose, to see yourself in the shadow of another, to accept them as they are because they are a representation of your darker aspects, and to trust in divine timing. You know, the shadows will transcend to light. Sad songs. I feel this is what's going to get your emotional body moving, you know, to indulge yourself that way so you can actually connect and align with the feelings that are long buried. And there is a lot of bitterness there, you know, and when we're bitter, when we're in this lemon energy, we end up spraying it at other people, squirting lemon in other people's eyes. We have to deal with our bitterness and work with it and transmute it so that it's not projected outwards, hurting others. This is about your fears and anxiety, finding a healthier outlet for that, learning to breathe deeply and tap into that divine consciousness. Yes, love hurts and your heart is bandaged and broken, but now is the time to fix it. Remember that Three of Swords energy in reverse. Stop telling yourself this fake story that you are strong because you ignore it. Carrying pain isn't strength. Carrying pain is actually a weakness. You know, carrying pain means that you're ignoring the broken parts of yourself. You're not giving yourself, you know, the love and care that you deserve. You are safe. Everything is going to be okay. You know, you have to trust in that. But you've got to stop feeling like everyone is after you or judging you or envying you or trying to make things worse for you. Remember, how we feel is how we create. What we believe is what we create. You've got to turn your attentions to manifesting what is good and strong and valuable and worthwhile. And your postcard says, dearest you, all your prayers are heard and mirrored back to you from the unseen realms. Be grateful, praise things before they manifest, and always ask for the highest good. When you plead and beg, that will only bring more reasons to plead and beg. Instead, offer your prayers as sacred gifts, as a testament to your faith in a higher power. Open up and let spirit move through you and comfort you. Add meditation as a way to become empty so you'll be ready to be filled with inspired epiphanies, peace, understanding and joy. In this moment, your prayers are being answered for the highest good of both you and all of life. Sometimes what you pray for is not supposed to happen for you, and your prayers will be answered in surprising ways. At this moment, we are listening intently to your prayers and want you to know that your highest good is our priority. All is well. I really hope that helped, pile 3. I've not done a reading like this before on my channel, so please let me know in the description box below, not in the description box, sorry, in the comments, you know, what your feedback is, if this resonated, if you enjoyed it, if you want more readings like this. I appreciate hearing from you guys. Thanks for hitting the like button if you did enjoy it, and thank you to those of you that subscribe. That feels like we're friends, and I will see you next time. But big special thanks especially to the very generous souls that exchange energy with me by watching the commercials or by sending donations. I appreciate you guys so much. It really does help to keep my channel growing and ticking over. If you do send me a PayPal donation, please be sure to include your postal address so I can send you a little handwritten thank you note and a card or two. I really appreciate it when you guys honour me that way, and thank you so very much. If you would like to join me in the extended reading, you can find the link to that in the description box below. Hopefully I'll see you there, but otherwise, thank you for joining me here. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time. Lots of love, pile 3. Bye.